Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We're here tonight to see the live stream debut of the 2022 F-150 Lightning. Thank you for joining us from wherever you're watching. We have this broadcast on the Motor One, Inside EVs. We have it on Twitch. We have it on Periscope. So wherever you are, thank you so much for joining us. And we are excited to take our first look at the all-new, all-electric F-150. The truck itself is going to debut in about 15 minutes, and you can watch that right here in this stream. But before we do that, we're going to have a little conversation. And I have with me some people on our panel. We have Kristen Shaw, who is a freelance automotive journalist. She's also the president of the Texas Auto Writers Association. We have Tom Malogny here with us as well. He is our go-to EV expert, and he's also a daily contributor to Inside EVs. And then we have the man on the top right of the screen. That's Chris Smith. He's a daily contributor for Motor One, and he's also the co-host of the Motor One podcast, Rambling About Cars. That's a lot to get out of the way, but let's get into it because we have an exciting night. This is a transformational vehicle in this industry in so many ways. Tom, can you set the table for us a little bit with two ways? Why is this a big deal for Ford, and why is this a big deal for the industry?
So for Ford, coming off the heels of electrifying the Mustang, when you think of Ford as a brand, what are they? The Ford Mustang, the Ford F-150. And now that they have an electric Mustang and they're releasing an F-150, what's that telling you? They're telling you their future is electric. If they electrified the two iconic names of the brand, they didn't do the Ford Edge electric or, the Ford Escape electric. No, they made an electric Mustang and an electric F-150. So that tells you right there where they're going. And what does it do for the industry? I've been following and driving electric cars for 12 years now. I've had electric cars as daily drivers. And one of the things I've always said was we're not going to get to mass adoption until electric vehicles are available in all shapes and sizes. In the first few years of electrification, there were all these tiny little hatchbacks that went 80 miles of range, type of vehicles that very few people really wanted. And then a couple of years later, we started getting a little more variety. We got a few sports cars sprinkled in, a few SUVs, pickup trucks. America loves pickup trucks. We buy about 3 million of them a year. We're getting the Rivian electric pickup truck coming soon. Cybertruck, whenever Tesla decides to, unveil that. They've been promising it for a while. And now Ford and Ford with the F-150. So what does that mean for the industry? It means electrification is on the verge of going completely mainstream when we have electric pickup trucks.
I'll remind everybody who's watching right now, in just about 10 minutes or so, we're going to switch over to the live stream debut of the F-150 Lightning, and then join us after the fact. We'll have a little more conversation and talk about the specs and the specifics of this truck. Kristen, you cover just about every new vehicle debut in the industry. Is it just me, or does this one feel a little bigger than usual?
This one feels very big. I mean, Ford invested $700 million into this facility to manufacture these trucks. And they've been prepping this for a while. I mean, we watched the YouTube video of the electric Ford 150 pulling that giant train, 1 million pounds. I mean, it almost looks fake, but yeah, it can do it because the torque is so big on these EVs.
Chris, you have a bit of Ford background yourself. Tell me why, this is a big deal for Ford specifically. And it seems like, I don't know, as Tom was kind of saying, that Cybertruck is what it is, but it's still far out. Ford is taking a really concrete step tonight and saying we're going to have an electric pickup truck and it's going to be coming to production soon. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, I think it's a big deal because it's a really gutsy move. I mean, they're not electrifying a niche vehicle. This is the best-selling vehicle in America. It's been there for decades. They sell these things like crazy. And I mean, this is a statement to me as much as it is just a vehicle. Hey, this is the future. And I know there are people out there that aren't really keen on electric power versus diesel or gas, especially in their trucks. So it's going to be interesting to see how F-150 buyers kind of take to this new genre. I mean, I suspect some will think that range is still going to be an issue. There's still kind of that phobia of, well, what if I'm towing my boat and I only get 100 miles and I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere and it's going to take me hours and hours to charge? There's going to be a little bit of that, but I think with F-150, you're especially going to see a response from contractors, workers, fleets, where, you know what, if you have a vehicle that you're only driving 50 or 100 miles a day, the cost savings on this over time is going to be immense. And then you have the Lightning name, which is a storied name among Ford people, especially the F-150 people, being the awesome street truck that it was in the first and second generation.
Right.
We already know this is the most powerful truck that they're going to have. So from this vantage point, at least so far, it seems like the name fits. It'll be interesting to see kind of how the response is on that side as well.
If you have a comment for us, go ahead and drop it, and we'll try to address all of them, especially after the debut as well. We'll be taking questions from anybody watching. Feel free just to say hi as well. For the whole panel here, do we feel like the buildup into this truck has been appropriate for the size of vehicle debut that this is? Do we feel like Ford has handled this well and has managed expectations and has gotten the market properly excited for it?
I think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I say yes, because it was 2019 when they did that video where they're showing the massive amount of weight that it can tow. But, you know, having the president drive it yesterday, they've been building this. I mean, even the Mach-E helped lay the foundation for this. And I expect the interior to look somewhat like the Mach-E. It's going to have that futuristic look, I think.
Right.
And, you know, the past few years, we've all seen some fairly substantial debuts when you're talking about the first mid-engine Corvette, when you're talking about the return of the Supra, when you're talking about Bronco. I mean, the last few years have just been phenomenal. How many of those have just been overhyped to the nth degree? If anything, I would say Ford maybe hasn't hyped this enough, but I think it's a good thing in this arena. It's the F-150. You don't really need to plug in that amount of hype. People are going to check in and see what it's about. So it's actually kind of refreshing. I think they have a really good balance of, hey, look at what we're doing without really shoving it down your throat.
Do you think this truck is going to translate to the American truck buyer, not just the person who would have previously considered an electric pickup, somebody who's more enthusiastic about EVs in general?
So I'd like to grab this one. You know, Ford sells about 1 million F-150s a year. The Lightning doesn't have to appeal to all of those buyers. If it appeals to 15% of F-150 buyers, that means 150,000 Lightning a year. Ford would be thrilled to reach those numbers. So I think before everybody gets excited about saying, oh, you're not going to be able to tow 7,000 pounds, 300 miles, this won't work for me. You're right. It won't. It won't work for a lot of people. But it will work for a lot of people. It'll work for enough people to make this a success. So, you know, before we come up with all these reasons after watching the show tonight as to why it won't work, understand it doesn't have to work for everybody. That can be the second generation or the third generation of this truck. But so many people drive pickup trucks today like cars, you know, and even a lot of contractors use them, you know, as contractors, but they don't need to, like I said, tow 6,000 pounds up a mountain every day of the week where there's no charging in rural Montana. You know, there's going to be cases where this won't work, but I think it's going to work for a lot of people.
Kristen, you've driven the gas-powered F-150. How close to that truck should this be? Should it be completely abstract from its gas-powered sibling or not so much?
I think to get the most uptake on the truck, it needs to at least feel familiar, because people love the F-150 as evidenced by the number that they sell. And I drove the gas-powered one as well as the hybrid version. The Power Boost version I was particularly impressed with because it has 700 miles of range. And for me, that'll get me all the way out to West Texas to where my husband's family has land and back. And that is significant.
We have a comment on the screen right now. Let's shift the conversation to rural charging. Tom has kind of mentioned the demographic of who might buy this truck. And just before signing on, we were talking about some of the headaches that come along with charging networks. Does this push the conversation further for a broader access to charging?
So, yeah, it does. And there's always been this chicken and the egg situation where infrastructure companies weren't willing to invest tens of millions of dollars in rural America because there were no electric cars there. They'd be, just sinking money into parking lots and no one would be using them. So, in order for these private investment go now, see, Tesla is different. They put their own dollars and said, we're going to put these things everywhere because we know we're going to have customers out there everywhere. But for everyone else, the manufacturers aren't sinking billions of dollars into infrastructure. So they have to rely on these third-party companies, ChargePoint, EVgo, Greenlots, Electrify America. And they're putting the chargers where there are electric cars because they're selling electricity. So yes, I think this will help to open up this conversation on rural charging. If the vehicles are in areas, the chargers will come. The charging network companies monitor registrations of where these vehicles are living and where they're driving. And yeah, there's going to be an early period where there aren't enough chargers, but once they're there, they're going to roll out pretty quickly.
If you're joining us right now, we're just a few minutes away now from seeing the F-150 Lightning for the first time. We're going to show you that live stream right here. You don't have to switch over to another stream to see that. And at this point, I'll also shamelessly plug, we'd love for you to subscribe to the Motor One YouTube channel or the Inside EV's YouTube channel as well. We do live streams just like this and plenty of new car review videos and tons of other great stuff as well. What are we expecting in just a few minutes now when Ford takes over and shows us the truck for the first time? Are we expecting them to tell us a lot or playing the cards closer to the chest? Chris, what do you think?
I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I mean, when you look at especially the current generation F-150, Ford was very conservative with its next gen truck, to actually some degree of criticism. But when you're Ford and you have the best selling vehicle in America, stepping a little conservative is something that you can easily do because you're not going to alienate the people that are already buying your product. So I think they're going to come out. They're going to offer some information. They're going to tell people probably what they want to hear. They're going to try to reassure people, hey, this is still the F-150 that you know and love. It's got a different power plant, just like you've been able to get different engines in F-150s for over half a century. This is just another step in the rung. Here's what it's going to be able to do for you. Here's how it looks. And it's going to be the future.
Question for everybody, and know that we might have to step out of it if the broadcast starts. What's the most important thing that this truck has to do?
Charge up quickly. That's the people's biggest concern when it comes to EVs, especially for trucks. If you're going to take a long trip in a truck, you need to know that it's going to charge up fast and get you where you need to go.
I think range, people are going to be very interested in range. And because it's wearing a Lightning badge, it has to have some measure of kick you in the tail. If it doesn't have that, then it's just going to be another case of Ford is just kind of tooting their horn and it's not really what they say it is.
Yeah, I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction.
You normally do.
To me, it's really important that it has vehicle to load capabilities of a high power amount for contractors powering home. We've seen some other vehicles that do have vehicle to grid, vehicle to home capabilities where the vehicle can power other things. And not really a lot of power, like the new Hyundai Ioniq is coming out and it has 3.8 kilowatt total. And they say you can power your house with it. Well, you can.
Tom, I'm going to stop you real
off.
quick.
Okay.
Ford is getting started, so let's pass it over to them, and then you can join us right back here afterwards. We're going to talk about the truck.
brought the car to the American people. Then we built them a truck. A hard-working partner with an unbreakable handshake. The tool that turned American spirit into American progress. But the American spirit is a restless storm. And we're riding out to meet it. Driven by a century of innovation to help build a better world. It's time to stop thinking about the future and get ready for today. It's time to bring the lightning.
Please welcome Bill Ford, Executive Chair, Ford Motor Company.
Well, good evening and welcome to Dearborn, home of the Ford Motor Company. As we mark this pivotal moment in our history, I'm so excited and proud to be joined by our employees, our UAW partners, our dealers, customers, media, and everyone who's joining us around the world. Many of you have been part of the Ford family for generations. And in many ways, this event and what you will see tonight is a generational celebration. More than a century ago, Dearborn became the epicenter of American ingenuity and progress. This is where the Industrial Revolution took hold. This is where we unlocked one of the most important rights we have in this country, the freedom to move and to pursue dreams. And Dearborn is where, 73 years ago, the first F-Series rolled off our assembly line. From the very beginning, the F-Series has always been more than just a truck. It became a symbol for American strength, endurance, and resilience. And that's why the F-Series has been the best-selling truck in the world for the past 44 years. Part of what makes it so special is that we never stop working to make it even better. And when we committed to making an electrified truck, we set an incredibly high bar for success. It had to be good enough to be called F-150. The F-150 is the world's most popular and trusted truck. And the F-150 Lightning will be the smartest, cleanest F-150 ever. And it's pretty powerful. In fact, just yesterday, President Biden was in Dearborn, and somehow he convinced the Secret Service to let him drive the truck on our test track. He had a blast, and he left some rubber on the track. Now, there's no doubt that this truck is powerful, but it's also a showcase of what's to come from Ford. We're just as dedicated to delivering for our customers as my great-grandfather was when he invented the assembly line over 100 years ago. And that's what today is all about: reinvention and improvement, forward and upward. Technology, not for its own sake, but to make people's lives better. As America's favorite vehicle is now electrified, this is a defining moment for our company, a watershed moment for our industry, and on a personal level, it's really gratifying for me. It's a truck that will usher in a cleaner future for our country, and it will fulfill our promise to our children and our grandchildren that our generation is committed to leaving them a cleaner planet. 2.5 years ago, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Rouge, and I promised our employees that one day, when we built an all-electric F-150, we'd do it right here in Dearborn, which is why we're building it at the Rouge in a plant that is environmentally progressive as the F-150 Lightning is itself. And the Rouge is more than just a factory. It's been a source of pride and opportunity for generations of workers. And when many in Ford wanted to abandon the Rouge as it fell into disrepair years ago, I decided to make it the greenest plant in the country. The F-150 Lightning will be built in America and for America, because Ford is built for America. We employ more hourly workers and assemble more vehicles in the US than any other automaker. As I see so many of our employees here tonight, I'm reminded that they are what makes us different, and they are what set us apart from other companies. And they will continue our proud tradition of innovation at the Ford Motor Company. This is a historic day for our company. It's an important day for the future of our country. And I am so proud to be able to share it with all of you. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to introduce Gerald Kareem, Vice President of our UAW Ford Department. Gerald?
Thank you, Bill. I am so pleased to be here today for this exciting event with Bill, Jim, Linda, and all of you to announce the all-electric F-150 Lightning. As we all know, the F-Series is America's best-selling vehicle, and I know that our members are so proud to be the workers whose hard work and dedication will build this vehicle of the future. And I want to recognize each and every one of them. I am so proud of my UAW brothers and sisters. I want to recognize Bill Ford for his early vision and focus on sustainability, and Jim Farley for his dedication, forward-looking perspective on what the future of auto must be. And Linda Zane, the engineer who worked with our UAW brothers and sisters to make this F-150 Lightning a world-class vehicle of the future. This is truly a partnership, a long-standing, strong partnership of respect and vision. And I'd also like to recognize UAW President Roy L. Gamble, a member of UAW Local 600, for his leadership on his home turf. Region 1A Director Chuck Browning, as well as my top aide, Steve Zimmerler, who are with us here tonight. And of course, Bernie Rickey of UAW Local 600 and Nick Catalis, chair of Dearborn Truck, and their officers and teams. Today's investment is not just an investment of technology and money. It is far more than that. It is an investment in the future of UAW Ford workers and their families. It is an investment in technologies that will create sustainability. Let me say a few words about the workers who come to work every day and put their talent and sweat into building the F-150. About 4,400 UAW represented hourly workers build these vehicles. And I know my brothers and sisters believe in the work they do, forging vehicles that will contribute to the better future for us all. As we look forward, as we look toward that future, much has been said about the transition to new technologies. And we are all working our way through this monumental shift. We remain proud and excited to build this iconic F-150 Lightning. On behalf of the workers who build this new electric vehicle and our partners here this evening, we launch a new chapter of UAW Ford innovations and sustainability and good jobs. Today is a good day for Ford, the UAW, and our nation. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce the all-new F-150 Lightning. Let's take a look.
By now, we've all heard a lot of talk, a lot of promises.
1, 2, 3.
A lot of lengthy descriptions about what electric is.
4, 5.
We think it's time to see what it can do. It's time for electric to turn into lightning. An electric truck that can match the ambitions of this nation. That can haul on both ends. That shows up to the job site with an extensive resume. That can help build your house. And if need be, power that house. That puts a big, ridiculous smile on your face every time you hit the accelerator. That feels like a bullet train and works like a freight train. The only EV quick enough, tough enough, smart enough to carry our name. The only EV that's an F-150, the fully electric F-150 Lightning. Remember where you were when you heard about it.
Here it is, the all-new, all-electric, all-capable F-150 Lightning. I'm Linda Zhang. Tonight feels like a dream come true for me. It's a dream that started when I was 8 years old and rolled in a car for the first time, just after my family moved to America to start a new life. 11 years after that day, I joined Ford when I was 19. And now I feel so fortunate to have led an amazing team that worked day and night for the past 3 years to create the truck of the future, F-150 Lightning. Lightning. Anything is possible when you dream big, and that's what we did. So let me tell you why F-150 Lightning is like no other truck. Building on over a century of truck know-how, we unlocked the full potential of EV technology. And wherever we saw the opportunity to improve, we took it. Jim will tell you about the drive experience, but with its low center of gravity, and perfect weight balance, this is the best handling F-150 ever. And it has the fastest acceleration of any F-150. To harness that performance, F-150 Lightning features 4 selectable drive modes: normal, sport, off-road, and tow haul, and is always 4x4. Plus, the ownership experience is packed with advantages only Ford EVs offer. You get revolutionary power, on-the-go, available features like enhanced Pro Power on board delivers up to 9.6 kilowatts, available at 21 charge points around the truck, including 11 outlets, enough to power an awesome tailgate or even an entire work site. And at home, intelligent backup power makes the F-150 Lightning your own personal power plant, automatically powering your house for 3 days during an outage. This is a first for an EV truck. There's storage under the hood like you've never seen before, and a standard full-size bed. Inside, F-150 Lightning comes as a super crew with plenty of room for 5. F-150 Lightning offers an ingenious array of connected, intelligent features. With enhanced zone lighting all around the truck, you can find your tools or light up your campsite. Available onboard scales analyze your payload, while Ford Intelligent Range pulls in factors like that payload alongside weather, traffic, and towing information to accurately calculate your range. And with Ford Pass, Power My Trip will identify charging routes before even starting your journey. Not only do you get a 12-inch digital cluster, you can also get a massive 15.5-inch center screen running Sync 4A, which puts control of this connected truck at your fingertips. Plus, a suite of new tools like Smart Hitch and Pro Trailer Hitch Assist means that towing doesn't need to be a 2-person job. It's also the only electric pickup that's built Ford tough, dependable and torture tested with an all-new frame which uses the strongest steel ever in an F-150. This is a truck that can tow up to 10,000 pounds up a brutal hill in extreme heat or cold. Rugged underbody protection keeps the battery safe with metal skid plates shielding both the battery and inboard motors from tough terrain. The battery itself is secure inside a waterproof casing surrounded by crash absorption protection, which all adds up to excellent off-road performance. This is the smartest, most innovative F-150 Ford has ever built, designed to bring our customers what we believe is the best driving and ownership experience on the planet with 0 emissions. I'll hand it over now to our president and CEO, Jim Farley, to tell you more. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Linda. I also wanted to thank Bill Ford, Gerald Kareem, and this incredible team that made this evening possible. This is what passion of the Ford Motor Company can do. This is American innovation. And this is a moment of tremendous pride for all of us at Ford. This revolutionary truck will be built just a couple of miles away from here at the Rouge, where my grandfather and so many others were proud to punch in every day, as Gerald said. You heard the specs and details from Linda. She's terrific. But I want to tell you what it actually feels like to drive this truck. You know, I've been lucky enough to be involved with lots of amazing vehicles in my career with a few brands. But this truck is totally different. Bill Ford and I went to the test track recently to drive an advanced prototype. And even though I was pretty close to the development of the F-150 Lightning, I was completely blown away. It's like no pickup truck I have ever driven. The driving experience is a complete thrill. We're targeting 770 foot-pounds of torque and just under 600 horsepower. The 0 to 60 for this truck is in the mid 4-second range. That's quicker than the Raptor, and it's a lot quicker than the original SVT Lightning performance truck. But what makes it so unique is it's so quick, but it's super quiet inside and so smooth. It's got a totally new independent rear suspension. As Linda said, standard four-wheel drive and a very low center of gravity because of the batteries. It hauls ass and tows like a beast. Metaphorically, it might as well have a Superman cape and a Captain America shield. Now, if you lose power at home, like the ice storms in Texas, the F-150 Lightning will power your house for day upon day upon day. And it's all seamless and controlled through your phone on the Ford Pass app. And then there's the Mega Power Frunk. It's a whole new automotive term. You press a button and the whole front of the truck opens. And it's amazing. 400 liters of space, 400 pounds of payload up there, 4 plugs to power your tools at a work site, your Traeger grill, your flat screen TV, your mini fridge at the tailgate. And the cabin is a perfect blend of luxury. No one does luxury like the F-150, but technology and lots of clever features. And boy, do we have technology, including a true hands-free highway driving system we call Ford Blue Cruise. The F-150 Lightning will just get better and better every day, every month, every year with the over-the-air updates that we call Ford Power-Ups. They'll fix bugs, continually improve the user experience, and add completely new features and technologies. Now, range will never be a concern with this truck. You charge it overnight, and with the extended range batteries, we put as standard dual onboard chargers that make the charging go really fast. And you roll out in the morning with the electric equivalent of a full tank of gas. And if you need to charge on the go, you'll have access to the largest public charging network in North America, thanks to Ford. Now, a lot of people would think with all of that, all of those features, all that capability, all that technology, that this would be a 6-figure trophy truck. And I'm proud to say we worked really hard, and this F-150 Lightning starts at just under $40,000. And that's before you get your federal or state tax credits. And if you're a commercial customer, we have an F-150 Lightning just for you. It offers the lowest cost of ownership of any truck we've ever made. It needs less maintenance because it has 40% less moving parts and powertrain. And of course, you never have to stop at the gas station. But this is just one part of the Ford plan, as Bill said, to lead the electric revolution. Let's take a look. So right next to me is the Mustang Mach-E that has redefined the American muscle car for the electric era. People see it, they drive it, and then they buy it. 70% of the people who have ordered the Mustang Mach-E are brand new to Ford. Now, for all of you here tonight who really like speed, this is your lucky day, because this is the new GT performance version of the Mustang Mach-E. It's much faster than the the one that we've already launched. It looks great. It is fantastic to drive. And over there is the backbone of business, the most innovative, ingenious version of the #1 commercial van, not just in the US, but in the world. Now that E-Transit will launch later this year, here and in Europe. And there's the F-150 Lightning. Now this truck represents all that our country can do when we push for progress, as Bill said. So that's the end of this show. But frankly, it's just the beginning of a whole new era at Ford. Please take a look at this closing video. And for more information, to reserve your F-150 Lightning, you got to go to Ford.com. It's only going to cost you $100 to make a reservation. So thank you for sharing this incredibly special evening with all of us. Good night, and thank you.
Hello. Well, we're back.
We are back.
Wow. Lots of music, lots of graphics, very powerful presentation from Ford. Before we get started on unwrapping this thing, two things. Anybody who has a question, drop it for us in the comments. We're going to try to answer as many questions as you can. Second big point, I want to brag for a second. Our team has been working extremely hard on coverage of this truck. So please head over to motor1.com. At the very, very top of the website, you'll find everything you need to know about the Lightning, including a first look video where we got in person with the truck, got to get our hands on it and show you some of the features up close and personal. Some of that footage is actually rolling right now. But we still have the panel. We're going to go over some of the specs that we just saw. Some of the big ticket items, just to paraphrase from that presentation, 2 battery options. We have a 2 different ranges on this truck. It'll come standard with 230 miles of range, up to 300 miles of range, 426 horsepower base. We have up to 563 horsepower on the bigger battery pack. And then the other big headline, $39,000-ish to start. And the top of the line, fully loaded model, up to $90,000. There's a lot to go over here. Tom, hit me with your biggest thing that you got out of that presentation. What are you thinking?
So, the charging is important to me, being so, electric vehicle focused. And I think they're doing well with that. We got some more stats, 15 to 80% in 44 minutes. The extended range battery pack's going to have a 19 kilowatt onboard charger. The thing will recharge quickly. And as I was trying to say at the end, when Ford so rudely interrupted me and started the presentation, I'll have to talk to Bill about that. The vehicle to load, this vehicle is going to have the ability to deliver 9.6 kilowatts. That's like having a 10 kilowatt genset. I mean, that can power your whole house, even a small air conditioner in the house. So, as far as not just the house, work job sites, that can power all the power tools that you could possibly, you could have your entire crew, working off the vehicle. So that was really one of the things I was looking for. I know, like I said earlier, some of the things it's not going to stack up to a diesel F-150 or a gas F-150 range and things like that. That it's not going to be able to compete with that. So for some people, it's not going to work. But Ford did what they needed to do and made the charging, both charging the vehicle and then vehicle to grid, very functional.
Yeah, I'm in Texas, and that really caught my attention when he was talking about powering your house for 3 days, because I have friends who lost power for at least 3 days, and that would have helped them out a ton.
Yeah.
It distracted me from the range numbers, which I thought were a little bit disappointing. I would have liked to have seen them start at 300 and go up, but I guess you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I almost feel like they're setting us up for like a longer range version that's going to come further down the road. When you're talking about, 300 seems like that should be where they're starting with a vehicle this size, and then go up with 400. I think, Tom, you probably know better right offhand. Tesla's quoting 500 in Cybertruck. So I feel like Ford needed to do a little bit better here on the range.
Well, what Tesla quotes and what they deliver sometimes
what they deliver
are two different things.
Right.
You know, and I'm a Tesla owner. I drive a Tesla and I have a Cybertruck reservation. So, you know, I beat them up a lot, but they also do some things well. You know, I'm not surprised by the range personally. You know, I didn't think, and I was kind of setting that up in the beginning. I didn't think that this was going to be the truck for everybody, and it's not going to be. But you have to remember, and for those that don't live with electric vehicles, that don't work with them every day like I do, there's a different paradigm with the range where every day that work truck or that truck you're driving leaves your yard or your business or your home fully charged. So you've got this 300-mile range every day. And you know, for people that are wondering, will this work for my business? You know, can this work? You know what? Get a little pad, paper, and every day that work truck goes out in the morning, reset your trip, and then at the end of the day, record how many miles you drove. Do that for a couple of months and see how often do you need more than 250 miles range. Now, there's a lot of people, especially middle America, that's going to need more than that, and it won't work for everybody. But like I said, 15% of their sales, 150,000 of these sold a year. I think Ford would sign on for that in a heartbeat.
Let's do a quick recap of some of the performance stats here. 426 horsepower, 563 horsepower in the extended range, up to 775 pound-feet of torque. Jim Farley said it. This thing should absolutely haul ass, especially for something that's this size, right? We found out today that, or yesterday, I guess, that the Hummer EV is going to weigh over 9,000 pounds. They were coy on the weight. They didn't tell us how much this is going to weigh with payload or without payload, but it's got to be what, 6,000 pounds plus, or is that overdoing it?
No, I mean, didn't we hear somewhere that the batteries alone are like the weight of a small car?
Yeah,
I want to say that cropped up somewhere. So I mean, I think it'll be over 6,000. I think it'll be closer to 7. I don't think it's going to be Hummer EV territory, but I mean, look, it's an electric vehicle. We know the batteries weigh something. I don't think in this instance that people are as interested in the vehicle weight as long as it has the cargo capacity, as long as it has the towing capacity. And on this truck, I mean, like Tom has been saying, this isn't a solution for everybody. This is the first step into this world, and the performance that Ford is advertising. I mean, when they started talking about low center of gravity, perfect weight balance, best handling, fastest F-150. I mean, that was appealing to all the first and second gen Lightning lovers out there. I mean, that was a straight up homage to them. Hey, this is a truck that seats 5 people. Yes, you can take it off road if you want, but we still know there's a Lightning badge on there. It still has to mean something.
And he did say it's faster. He said it's faster.
Oh, yeah.
It's quicker than the Raptor and the original Lightning, and that's going to attract some buyers.
Yeah, well, mid 4-second range. The first gen Lightning, I mean, that was 240 horse. That was 0 to 60 in about, on a good day, maybe 7.5 seconds. The second gen, when they upped the power to 380, those were low to mid 5 seconds, 0 to 60, provided you could get them to hook up, and a lot of people couldn't get them to hook up. So I mean, yeah, I mean, sorry, all you OG Lightning lovers, the new electric Lightning is going to smoke them all.
It's going to smoke them all in sales too. I bet you.
I think it
first full year of production, it's going to outsell the entire 9-year run of the Lightning pickup trucks of past.
Well, and in defense too to SVT, I mean, they were always on the mindset of, okay, this is a niche vehicle. We're purposefully not going to sell a lot of them because we wanted to be kind of unique. But I also, to that effect, a lot of people just weren't interested in a street truck. They still wanted their truck to do things, which is why when Ford came out with the Raptor, okay, here's a high performance truck that can go off-road and on. That thing sold like gangbusters. So I think Ford is actually taking a really smart approach here. You can make this a street truck if you want. I bet there are already aftermarket companies just rubbing their hands together with lowering kits and things to drop it down a little bit, especially with that kind of electric power on hand. But it also has the ground clearance. And if you want to take it off road, I mean, I don't think you're going to take it to Rubicon, right? But if you want to go off road, I mean, you can a little bit. It has that capability. I think Ford's playing it down the middle, and I think they're onto something here.
If you have a question for us, go ahead and drop it in the comments section. We'd love to take some questions from anybody who's watching right now. And otherwise, head over to motor1.com or insideevs.com. At the very top of the website, we'll have all the coverage on this truck that you need to know, including an exclusive first look video where we get in person with the truck and get to play around with it a little bit. Yeah, there were so many things that jumped out at me as small features, and we should jump and kind of talk about the tech in this truck too, not just the truck things, but the interior and then some of the specifics of it being an EV. What comes to mind with each of you is the coolest sort of tech feature, not necessarily a truck feature? Kristen, I'll start with you.
Well, the screen, I mean, you can't miss it, right? It's
right.
giant.
Let me find a picture of that, and I'll get it up on the screen in just a second here.
Yeah, it's got that high-tech feel. I mean, plus it just has lots of power options. I think they said 11. Did they say something about 11 power outlets? I mean, plus it being able to charge your house up. It's got the electronic key, the smart key, smart towing.
Right.
So they're thinking of everything they've got and throwing it into this truck. Like, let's do it all.
You're on screen right now with the 15.5-inch display. It's right out of the Mach-E. I got to say the user interface looks a little different. We've been lucky enough to play around with the Mach-E a couple of times, and this looks like a different software that's in it. And we also have a digital instrument cluster that I believe they said is standard across all of the trim levels. We have a question on screen right now talking about the max towing. I believe it's up to 10,000 pounds on the extended range
10,000.
battery. Is that correct?
Yep. 10,000, which, I mean, hey, that's a healthy number.
That's a big camper. You could tow. I mean, it looks like a great vacation vehicle, right? You can have a giant frunk and you can tow.
I mean, the question that I know people are asking, okay, it can tow 10,000 pounds, but how far can it tow the 10,000 pounds? How big of an effect is that going to have on the range? I mean, that's something that we don't know yet. I mean, Ford hasn't said anything about it. And as Tom has been saying, I mean, maybe, yes, it can tow 10,000 pounds, but I really don't see this as being a vehicle that people are going to want to take on long vacations, at least right now, to tow their RV or their boat, because, I mean, let's be honest, that range will be affected.
Mm-hmm. But did you notice one of the things that they brought up, which caught my ear, I was really interested in, I'd love to play with this, is they're going to have a smart range estimator, and it's going to be able to calculate your range while towing. I don't know how they're going to do that, because unless you're going to, weigh them or tell them exactly how much you're pulling, maybe after driving 30 or 40 miles, it'll calculate the consumption rating that it's having and then give you an updated range estimator. But I mean, that's something that I'd geek out over. If Ford's listening, let me get a hold of one of these and I'll do a whole video and article on it, because I'm really interested in seeing how that works. We do a lot of articles on Inside EVs, just on electric vehicles towing trailers and whatever. People are fascinated with it because it does really affect the range. I really want to get someone's ear at Ford and figure out, okay, what are you doing with this and how does it work?
There's a lot of good questions coming through as well. Let's hit that question in a second, but I also wanted to make the point. It has scales in the bed of the truck to account for the payload to make the range accurate. I think that's really interesting and a good piece of technology, so that when you load up the truck, like most people will, it doesn't completely deplete the range out of nowhere and you end up saying, what the hell? How come I'm 60 miles short of where I need to be?
Right. And does the range estimator can also take into consideration topography? Like you see that it's pulling that airstream up a mountain. Pulling that airstream up a 10% grade or 5% grade is a lot different than pulling it on flat ground. So it's going to have to take into consideration topography too, in addition to the weight.
Let's get that comment on the screen right now. The one that's unfortunately blocking Kristen's face.
That is
not
okay.
intentional.
That's terrible. Gerald, you should be ashamed.
No problem.
We'll get that comment pulled down. But the $39,000 truck, there's not going to be a commercial grade one that's cheaper. Is that right? That is the lowest cost of entry. And I can head over to the Ford website too. The pre-orders just went live right now. I think they're going to make you order the expensive trims before they'll offer the true base price truck.
Yeah, at the end of that presentation, I mean that's why I was a little confused there too, because Farley was talking about if you are a commercial customer, we're going to have a special version just for you. I wasn't clear if that was the $39,000 price that he quoted, or if there's going to be one underneath that yet. So I mean, yeah, that's something that we're going to look into.
Well, let's do this together. Let's order a truck together right now through Ford and see what we're dealing with.
I want the high power.
What do we want to do? So they have Lightning at the top. We can click on that. While we're just going through that, are there any other, they made a big deal of this, and kind of rightfully so. We knew long before today that this truck was going to be a game changer. And to me, at least, it really felt like they made it feel that way. Going forward with the timeline, how important is it that this truck gets to market quickly? I believe we're still about a year out from it hitting production. I don't want to be mistaken on that.
I think it's coming out. It's supposed to come out the first versions next spring. So yeah, I mean, we're still about a year out. I mean, we were supposed to see a production version of Cybertruck by now, and we still haven't seen that. I think if Ford can end up beating Tesla to market, I think that would be a big win for them. I mean, they're not going to catch Rivian, I don't think, right, Tom?
No, Rivian's. A friend of mine's got his delivery notice, and next month he's supposed to get it. So they're not beating Rivian.
No, I think that's true as well. We did have a comment that I want to address right now. It's asking us to compare this truck to the Cybertruck, and what do we think? Because we know that Tesla people are Tesla people, and rightfully so. If the company can deliver on any of the specs they promise, that's going to be one hell of a truck, like it or not. What do we think about this as a direct comparison point?
Well, is this really a launch if they didn't try to break the windows?
Try?
Well, that's a fail on Ford's part. They should have tried that.
I mean,
that would have been funny if they played around with that, if they did something, but
that could have been an easy win too.
But that would have been really funny.
Just like throw a beanbag ball at the window,
something like that.
Yeah, but Ford's more conservative than that, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be likely to play with that. But I really think that this is a much more attractive truck than the Cybertruck, and I know I'm not alone thinking that.
Let's go through just a couple more comments before we start taking down the rest of this post. I'm excited about this. I think that this truck, we've been thinking about it for so long now, and they've been doing all these like little marketing stunts along the way, but it feels like a big deal. Any other final thoughts from each of you before I start plugging how we're going to talk about this truck the rest of the week, including some more in-depth coverage on the podcast, which is coming up later in the week? Final thoughts, everybody?
So I have a final question. I want to know how many they can make each year, because they're going to be constrained by batteries. Everybody is. They couldn't, if everyone decided to buy this instead of the gasoline version, we know they couldn't make 1 million of them. So I wonder what their capacity is to put these out, and will they be, supply constrained, for the first year or so? Will more people order them than they can deliver? That's what I'd like to know.
I think if I had to choose between the all-electric and the Power Boost hybrid, I would pick the hybrid because the range is spectacular. And I'm really impressed by that. But this is quicker than the Raptor. Like, I can't wait to try it.
That's true.
Kind of what I said already. I think Ford is really smart playing this the way they're playing it. They're pulling on Lightning heartstrings by saying, hey, this is a fast truck. This is also a good handling truck. That's something that was also always part of Lightning's history. It wasn't just power. They also tried to make them handle a little bit better. But they're still also trying to make this truck appeal to a broader, more mainstream audience. And I think they're going to pick some of that audience. And I also think, because my marketing brain picked this up after like the first 15 minutes of being fed, and rightfully so. The pride of this truck being built at the Rouge plant.
That's true.
The shout out to all the UAW all the people in the UAW, the unions, the manufacturing, the immense pride that's going into this. That was not just simple lip service. That was Ford reminding everybody, this is the F-150. This is our all-American truck. It's electric, but it's still all-American. And also a quick shout out. We're going to talk more about this on Rambling About Cars that drops Friday morning, our podcast at motor1.com. We're actually going to have our post show plugged in there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Lightning and all the trucks that led up to Lightning.
Friends, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you all joining me, and let's do it again sometime with whatever the next industry unveil is. You can follow Kristen Shaw on Twitter at Kristen V. Shaw. You can see some of her phenomenal work on Motor One and other automotive websites as well. Tom is part of a great cast that hosts the weekly Inside EVs podcast. They cover a lot of very relevant, super exciting topics, and they've been doing a great job lately. And then, as Chris just said, you can catch him weekly on Rambling About Cars. I think that's enough things to plug. If you haven't already done so, please head over to motor1.com and check out the debut post on this truck, which also includes our exclusive first look video. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
And thanks all for joining us. Let's have a good night. Bye-bye.